get started. Everybody okay? You comfortable? Good. I'm Captain Mike Casagrande. I'm with the Kankakee Fire Department, and I'm in charge of the Fire Prevention Division. I've been with the Kankakee Fire Department for 25 years. Been in the fire service for 37 years. Started out as a volunteer fireman. And this program here is kind of a special program for me because we've had some tragedies in Kankakee. Now, I got this up here because there's a reason. Albert Einstein said that if for some real important decisions, it would take him 55 minutes to decide if whatever questions that he needed to ask, okay? Well, we're not going to decide 55 minutes of what questions you want to ask. Whatever questions you want to ask, please ask them of me. We'll do our best to answer it. But the other thing that I wanted to tell you is that when it comes to an emergency and a fire emergency, we don't have 55 minutes to decide what we're going to do. Things happen really quickly, and so we need to be able to decide things very fast. So, for our younger kids, a lot of times we ask what-if questions. So, we're not going to say what-if questions. If you have a question and it's a real concern, ask me. But if it's something, what if happens, then we're going to try to steer away from those. Okay, so what is fear? And the reason why we talk about this is fear is being afraid of someone, something as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. And that's an important thing because when it comes to fire, fire is scary. And being a firefighter myself, there's times that I've been afraid about going into a house fire. So having fear is an important thing because it also respects what's happening around you. So fear is important. I want to tell you a little story here first before we start about being afraid and having fear. A good friend of mine is a storm chaser. He goes out and he chases tornadoes. That's what he does. And then he goes out and he does education programs. And he was coming into a program. Come on in. He was going to a program, and the young boy was out in the parking lot, and he was crying and carrying on. He didn't want to go inside because what they were going to talk about inside is scary. It's all scary, and he didn't want to go in. And so my friend went over to him. He said, "What's going on here?" He says, "I'm afraid. I don't want to go in there because they're going to talk about bad things, and I really don't want to hear about bad things." Well, it happened to be that the boy was standing out in the middle of a parking lot. So he told him, he said, you're in the middle of a parking lot, and cars are going by really fast. And if you're not careful, you could get hurt or killed right here in this parking lot. And he looks at my friend, he says, "Oh, you're silly." He goes, "What do you mean I'm silly?" He goes, "You don't get hurt if you know what to do." He says, "What do you mean?" "Well, if you know what the rules are, you can't get hurt. If you look both directions, you know that if a car is coming, you're not going to get hurt." And it kind of works with the fire service. Oops, sorry about that. And about what we're going to talk about. If you kind of know some of the rules about what's going on, you can be afraid, but you'll know what to do. You'll know how to react to things when things happen. So, here's a riddle. All right, guys. First thing, we're going to get you guys talking. I eat, I live, I breathe, I live, I drink, I die. What am I? You guys are going to have to, we're not going any farther until you give me an answer. What do you think? No idea. Read it again. I eat, I live, I breathe, I live, I drink, I die. What do you think, guys? What do you think? You got an answer for me? This is a good one. Fire. How about that? All right. So how many are going to school right now remember the firemen coming to the schools? What grade are you in? 5th grade. Okay, so what schools did you go to? King Middle School? All right. How about you guys? What school are you going to? Second grade? What's your school name? Aquinas Academy. Ah, I've seen you a few times then over at Aquinas. So, in October, what's October? What do those guys come to? Fire Prevention Month? They show up for you guys, right? You've been there, what do they do? Stop, drop, and roll. Crawl, get out, you know. You guys are pretty safe, you know, because I know that we've spent a lot of time in the Kankakee Fire Department for Kankakee that we've spent time with you. So we've done all this stuff. So do you remember some of the stuff we told you? You know, how to get out, what to do, about staying low and going, get out and stay out. Remember those things? Did you bring home those things, those plans for your mom and dad? Did they look at them or they go, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're going to throw moms and dads underneath the bus here real quick. So, has it been a while? When was the last time? Mom and Dad, you remember these guys? The Brady Bunch? Was the last time you heard something about that when you were a kid? Fire safety? Or is your family doing this plan? We'll make it up as we go. And that's part of the reason why we decided to do this program is because we kind of looked back at what was going on. We spent a lot of time with the kids, but for the most part, our parents were making it up as they go. And not having a plan is scary. It's all those things. It's puzzling. It's confusing because I have 4 brothers. Now, in my family, 3 of us are firefighters. 1's a police officer. And guess if we ever talked about fire and what to do in a fire in my family? It didn't happen. It didn't happen, you know. It was like you're on your own, scramble, you know. We didn't have a plan. So that's why we need to do this. So what is your family plan? Have you really sat down and talked to your kids about it? What do we do? Because it's so challenging to get out. We do things the same way we do it all the time. And this was one of the things that we learned about this recent fire. People do things the same way. And it was amazing that in the middle of the day, when there was a fire, that the people that were looking to exit the house only remembered one way in and one way out. Now, you get a chance to look around. How many other exits are there in this room? There's the one up in front here, and then there's exits in the back there. And what potentially could happen is because of the way that this building is designed, if you had a fire out there in the middle of the building, these exits here would have been blocked. And that would have been your primary exit. You may have literally forgot to look at the back and go, oh, look, there's an exit in the back of the room. We do that in our own homes. We go home and we go in the front door, through the garage door, and that's where we're programmed to do things the same way all the time. And what happens is, in an emergency, our mind takes over for us. We do this the same way. So we forget to look at the fact that there's another door, or the fact that there's a window in the room that we can use. So we have to think about that, and the idea of this is to have these discussions with your family and say, if there's a reason, you know, we need to get out, is there other ways for us to get out?
So where are the stairs here?
Actually, they're on both ends. Okay. And actually, if you go out that door, there's another set of stairs. So there's actually 3 sets of stairs in this building. But I spend a lot of time in this building. And when I go to places, I'm really weird now because I do fire inspections. And I'm looking at stuff all the time. But there are things that I get messed up too. Like, I'll share a story. I have a sump pump at home. My sump pump went out and I lost it because I was getting water in my basement and my sump pump didn't work. And my generator didn't work. So what am I doing? I'm calling my wife, the fireman. What do I do? It's easy for us to get frustrated with things that we're not accustomed to doing, and not know exactly what we need to do. And that's why having conversations with your family is really important. It's getting that conversation. Because when you talk through things enough, and you do it more than once, you do it a multiple amount of times, you kind of imprint your brain to make decisions. These are the decisions that I can make that were going to work for us. Now, fire needs three things to work, and we're talking about some of the rules. Fire needs basically three things. It needs oxygen, it needs heat, and it needs fuel. If it doesn't have any of those things, we don't have fire. And it's important to know because it's part of the rules. And fire kind of typically burns a certain way all the time. Now, this is basically a picture of a thermal imaging of a fire pattern. And it's important to know because the reason why I want you to know this is we're showing the temperatures of the ceiling. Now, the temperatures of the heat and fire at the ceiling are above 1,200 degrees. And fire can get even hotter than that. But typically, fire burns a certain way. It burns up, it burns out, and then basically the heat and fire and smoke come down at that point. So you have to understand that the reason why we're telling you that is because it gets hot. Now, just to give you an idea, steel starts to soften at 1,000 degrees. Now, I've actually been into house fires where I've had melted pennies on the floor. Well, pennies take a lot longer to heat up as far as temperature-wise. So we're exceeding 1,200 degrees even at the floor level. So this is why it's important for you guys. And this is a picture that kind of demonstrates the fact that how fire burns up, it burns to the ceiling, and all these things up here at the ceiling is the smoke. The smoke is the reason why it's black like that is it's incomplete combustion. It's things that that haven't burnt up completely because where complete combustion is occurring, or the burning, that's complete. Everything up there is particles of plastic and synthetics that are up there at the ceiling, the bad stuff. Now, it can get hot enough where all this up here can actually flash and catch on fire. But by staying low here, where you can see in the cooler air, it gives you a chance to escape from a fire. And this is a thermal imaging of fire. So as you can see, it's hot up here, and it's cooler down here lower, so that if you ever are in a place where you have to escape from a fire, you can actually see underneath the smoke, like we looked at the picture before, and you can stay low where basically the cooler temperatures are to get out. Now remember, for everybody that's come in, please ask questions. If you have questions, stop me, wave, make a signal, do anything, okay? Because this is we're learning something here. All right. Long time ago, we used to say fire doubles in every minute that it burns. That's actually quite impressive. But the fact of it is fire doubles every 10 seconds that it burns. So fire actually burns in a faster, hotter rate. And it's basically because of all the materials that we're using in our houses. We've got all that stuff that's made out of plastic and synthetics, and they burn really fast and really quick. And this is a fire in 8 seconds. So it's a pretty hot fire. Now, when you're in bed at night and you're sleeping, do you think you could smell smoke? Well, what do you think back there? Can we smell smoke when we're asleep? Not. Absolutely not. And the reason is that it's one of our sensories that shut off. That's the reason why we ask you to have smoke detectors in your home. Smoke detectors have an audible sound. For some kids now, I want to tell you, some of your kids, they will sleep through this audible sound. And I've had some adults that actually sleep through this audible sound. I've actually been in a fire inspection, doing an inspection in a high-rise, and we had to check the smoke alarm. So I walked over to the couch where the smoke alarm was at, and there was somebody sleeping, and I was so afraid I was going to get punched. And I told the landlord, I said, I've got to test it. He says, oh, well, take your chances. But they slept through it. I mean, the smoke alarm, they slept through. Now, for most cases, you can hear your smoke alarm going off. That's why, actually, we have more than one in our house. And I wanted to show you. These are typically the places that we want to keep them. We want to keep them close to the ceiling or 4 to 6 inches from the ceiling, or on the ceiling, one on every level, within 15 feet of every bedroom. Now in newer homes you have them that they're all interconnected. So you have them in every bedroom. So we would have them in every bedroom and then on every level. So you should have a smoke detector if you have a basement on your main floor, and then up on a second floor if you have a second floor. Now, carbon monoxide. Those are odorless. You can't smell it, you can't taste it. If you have gas appliances in your home, a furnace or fireplace or wood burning anything, you should have a carbon monoxide detector. And those are required to have them within 15 feet of every sleeping area. You don't have to have them on every level, but just in areas where everybody sleeps at. Okay? Any questions on that? Yes? Within 15 feet of every sleeping area. And now the thing about a carbon monoxide detector, unless it's a combination of smoke and carbon monoxide, if it's a combination unit, you want that 4 to 6 inches from your ceiling. If it's just a straight standalone carbon monoxide detector, this is kind of an example of one. There's several different ones out there, but this one's by First Alert. And this can be at floor level. It can be up at high at ceiling level. It doesn't matter. But typically, the thing that you want to remember, just like on smoke detectors, they have a lifespan. So after about 10 years with the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detectors, you really want to switch them out. And if they beep, if the carbon monoxide's beeping, it's going off kind of like a smoke detector, it's beep, 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 it means that there's a problem. And a lot of people kind of get afraid to call the fire department. My carbon monoxide detector's going off, what do I do? And they'll call the administration office, and it's like, no, that's what the fire department's there. They're kind of like your answer guys, you know. If you have a question about something you're not sure it's going off, call the fire department. You call the 911 number, say my carbon monoxide detector's going off, and they may ask you some questions. They may say, is anybody in the house feeling ill, having a headache, sick to their stomach? If you are, those are signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. You have to remember carbon monoxide odorless, you can't smell it, and if that detector's going off and warning you, and you're not feeling quite right when you're in the house, but you get out of the house and you feel better, then there's probably a problem with that. It's kind of funny, we've been doing the smoke detector program here now since February of last year, and we've done about 7,500 smoke detectors that we've put in houses. But in that time, I've been in 3 houses where actually they had gas leaks in the house. Okay, so part of that gas leak is the furnace not working or incomplete combustion. So the detectors weren't working necessarily that well at that time, or they didn't have them. So it's important that you do that because carbon monoxide is something that you die from. And so that's why it's important to have that in your house. All right, so when was the last time you checked your smoke detector? A lot of times, I want to just kind of share a story. We recently had that fire where we had the fire death, and one of the things we were told that they had working smoke detectors, which is fine, but some of the family members that we actually visited with later on while we were doing our investigations, we stopped in the house and we found out there were no batteries in the smoke detectors. Smoke detectors can't help you if you don't have your batteries in it. You got to do them. I've had them where we've gone to a house fire where the gentleman's smoke detector was chirping because the battery was low. He took it off the ceiling, set it down on the banister. It had been there for about a month, and they had a house fire there. The reason why I say it's so important is the detector wouldn't have worked for him because literally smoke rises just like I've shown you. Think about it. If the smoke is rising to the ceiling and the smoke detector's on the counter, how much smoke has to get into the room? An awful lot. So it limits the time that you're going to have to get out. So, plan A, because there's no plan B? No. There's always a plan B, a plan C, plan D, E, whatever it takes to get out of the house. And that's what we want to tell you. Whatever it takes to get out of the house, that's what we want to plan for. And we want to think that there is always something you can do to get out. We're talking about things that are a matter of your life. For you guys that have been to school and you've learned this, the problem of it is our parents, we kind of lead you down the wrong road sometimes because we're thinking we're making our best decision. But there's always a plan. And if you know something's not right, you have to speak up. Okay, that even means you over there. Yeah, this is important for you. So, having a plan is knowing 2 ways out. So, do you know 2 ways out of your house or where you're staying? Or if you're going to visit somebody, oh, I saw 3 fingers. So, which ways? And the front door. There's probably a 4th one then that you're not thinking about. Where's your bedroom? 1st floor or 2nd floor? Do you have a window? Uh-oh. Dad? Project. And I'm serious about that. I am very serious about that. Make a plan. All right. So, here's homework. The homework is to make a plan. There are things to do and things you should know. But as a family, work on the plan. Work on every possible plan. Remember, we talked about an A, B, a C, and whatever it takes. We found you actually had one more place that you could go. But the thing of it is as you explained, the window doesn't work very good. That window is possibly your main way of getting out. So that's something for you guys to take home. All right. How many families over here? 2? All right. Do you have any other families you want to take this to? No? It's important. You can share this with other people. Share this with your congregation. All right. Come on up here. Grab one of these, couple of these for me, okay? You've got to have a plan. All right. Now, we talked about knowing ways out. How about a meeting place? Where's your meeting place? Ooh. Didn't think there was going to be a test with this, right? Do you have a meeting place? Do you know what a meeting place is? All right. When we get out of our house, you can see the tree behind the make a plan. You have to have a place to meet. It's so important to have that place to meet. Why? Why do you think having a meeting place is important?
Make sure everybody's accounted for.
Exactly. We want to make sure that everybody's accounted for. If you get outside and the rest of the family isn't there, what's your job? To call the police. The fire department, right. You can call the police. If you call, what's the emergency number then? 911, right. So if you get 911, you get the police. And you know, he's kind of right because a lot of times, because the police are on the road all the time in the Kankakee, the police may show up to your house first, and you're going, where's the fire department, you know? The fire department's coming. Typically in the middle of the night, like today, to get out of the fire station, even when the firefighters are asleep, it takes them about 3 minutes to get from the fire station to any particular part in Kankakee. That's pretty fast. Matter of fact, that's real fast when you think about it. 3 minutes to get up out of bed, get fully geared, clothed up, put all your gear on, get in the truck, and get to your house. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So that's pretty fast. So it's important when you get outside, because here's where the delay gets to happen. When you get outside and you're going, where's everybody at? And they don't come. When you don't go to that neighbor's house or make that phone call to 911, then there's the delay. The trucks and stuff are getting out fast. So notification is really important. Make that plan. All right, and then practice it. Now, we're going to talk about practicing. This sounds silly, doesn't it? I'm going to have to practice an emergency plan. But how many times do you think you might want to practice an emergency plan? Especially after you've made it. And when do you do it? You should do it at least 3 times. And the reason why we say 3 times is practice it during the day. Practice it at night with lights on. And practice it at night with lights off. The fire that we had here last month was during the day. And things went bad really fast for the family. In fact, matter of fact, it went so bad we lost a little girl. They knew how to get out. They even practiced their plan, but their plan failed on them. So that's why it's important to practice these plans, to do this thing, so that you have not only that first plan A, but all those other plans too. So what do you do if you're in a hurry? All right. Let's see if I can get this. Forwards and backwards. Know your plan. Forward and backwards. That's what it's telling you. Messy room, right? How many have got this room? I bet you don't. I'm sure Mom's right on you for this one. How about you guys? Is this your room? Huh? This is actually really bad because, that was 3 minutes. I think we got out and possibly okay with that one. We're kind of iffy on that one. But so this room here, all this stuff here on the floor is pretty bad because it adds to the flame spread. Plus, you never know what's going to be lurking amongst it. You see the minion? But ends up your electrical wires for your game or your iPads or your Xbox, they tentatively get buried underneath all this stuff, and it traps the heat from the wiring. And as you walk on them and you do stuff like that, it breaks down the wiring, and the wiring gets soft and it melts, and it's a potential place for a fire to start. This is my official guide to messy preparedness. This is not necessarily my house. The only difference is mine would be on an elliptical. But what I said, when I put this there, I didn't think about this a lot until after one of the guys that I was showing this to, he says, "Oh, you remember being a volunteer fireman?" And I said, "Yeah, I still do this because I was a volunteer fireman." When I was a volunteer fireman, we had a pager, and I would get the page, so you had to hurry up and get dressed really quick at night to make it to the fire truck, because you had to drive to it. But I said, how good is this actually for me to help me prepare in case I had a fire in my house? So, guys, this works with your wives because my wife always says, "Why won't you put your stuff away?" And this is how this works. There's a pair of shoes. There's my pants. Not exactly my house, but there's my pants. And my pants are my keys, my wallet, all the things that I basically need to do whatever I need to do. I have credit cards and everything else. Wives, usually you have to go find your purse. It's somewhere else. I don't know. If I were to ask to find my wife's purse at any given time, I wouldn't know where to look. There's a sweatshirt, a shirt, a sweatshirt, a hat, and sometimes a jacket. Hey, that's pretty good. That works out pretty good for me as far as messy preparedness. So we'll take this one step further. Nightstand. Typically nightstands usually get piled a lot of stuff because we have stuff at home. But there's two things, at least on this nightstand, that I know that if I need it in a quick, timely manner, I could grab. So what are they? What do you think that's on there? It's like, where's Waldo, isn't it? Flashlight and a phone. Exactly. Because things can get bad really fast. I'm going to switch over to this rosin report. There's a couple things, videos, clips that I want you to see really quick. See if I can do this. Without causing too much trouble here.
Back now at 7:40, we've got a new rosin reports this morning.
It's an eye-opener. This morning, the fire danger from newer furniture giving you less time to escape in an emergency. Today, national investigative correspondent Jeff Rawson has this demonstration. Jeff, good morning to you.
Neat to see this one. Guys, good morning to you. Thousands of people are killed in house fires every year. In fact, new deadly cases in the news just this week. Survivors always say it happens so fast, there was barely time to get out. And it turns out there is a reason for that. Popular new furniture, the kind of furniture so many of us have in our homes today, actually burns faster, a lot faster, meaning you and your family don't have as much time to escape as you used to. This morning, we're about to show you why. It starts small, but in just minutes, flames can engulf your entire house.
I didn't think we were going to make it.
In an instant, your home becoming a deadly trap.
In 20, 30 seconds, it went from no fire in the hallway to the stairs were blazing.
Even firefighters are overcome. And your chance to get out alive is getting shorter and shorter. Research shows 30 years ago, you had about 17 minutes to escape. Today, it's only 3 to 4 minutes. Turns out there's a reason newer homes burn faster. You know the old saying, they don't build them like they used to? Well, they don't build them like they used to. And to show you, we've come here to Chicago. It's a lab where we're going to do a demonstration. I'm wearing this hard hat and these safety glasses so we stay safe. They have 2 rooms built here side by side. The first one is sort of a flashback to the 70s or 80s, the way homes used to be built. Real wood on the coffee table, more natural fabrics. But if you come just next door, this room probably looks the way your home looks right now. Modern furniture, a lot of synthetic fibers, from the curtains to the couch, even to the coffee table. Experts say newer homes can burn 5 times faster than the older ones. So we're going to light up the modern room first and see what happens. Let's go. Within seconds, flames are already shooting up from the pillow. Just seconds later, it's spreading to the entire couch.
The backing on your carpet is synthetic. Your drapes are synthetic. The couch, the pillows are synthetic.
And they're more flammable than the way they used to be.
They burn hotter and faster than natural materials do.
So why do they make it out of that stuff?
It's less expensive. It's the way homes are furnished today. There's no getting away from that.
In less than 2 minutes, the fire jumps to the lamp and the end table. Black smoke filling the room. By 2 minutes, 20 seconds, watch, that chair goes up in flames. At 2 minutes and 40 seconds, it's the coffee table. And then this. Complete flashover. You can't survive this. The fire's coming out of the roof there. Should we leave?
Yeah, let's get out of here.
All right. Jeez, let's get out of here. That was fast. All right, now we're going to light the older home up to see the difference. Are we good to go here?
Good to go.
All right, let's get out of here. So it sparks up. 2 minutes pass and the fire is still barely noticeable. I'm just amazed. This pillow has been on fire for several minutes now, but it hasn't even caught the rest of the couch.
It could be the difference between life and death, and it's been proven many times.
At 5 minutes, the flames are just peeking over the top of the pillow. 10 minutes, only the corner of the couch is burning, and the drapes are catching. At 15 minutes, the room is still intact. It's been 26 minutes, and take a look. The fire is still mostly contained to the couch. It hasn't even spread to this table. It hasn't spread to the plant or even the coffee table. And the fact that you can see me right now and we can stand here, the black smoke is not overpowering. It's taken this long. You could still get out. In the end, it takes 30 minutes for the old house to burn. The modern house, less than 3. So what's being done about it? The Furniture Industry Group telling NBC News it supports a federal flammability standard for upholstered furniture, but only if product changes are safe, effective, and affordable. Until then, experts say, there's no time to waste.
That's why when your smoke alarm goes off, you don't have time to look around to.
But this rosin reports have been very good reports of if we can't get it and you have an opportunity to go to the internet. This one particularly is, could your family escape from a house fire? And it's a little study that they did, how we were talking about knowing how to be able to get out on time and whether or not your family would be able to do that. What happened was this family here, they actually tried it, they set it up, and they smoked up the room, and actually the family didn't know what to do. They kind of got lost in the house. And matter of fact, even after they went outside, what do we tell you guys when you get outside? Get out in what? Stay out. Remember that? Get out and stay out. Don't go back in. Well, the mother went back in the house looking for the pets. So fire doesn't burn the same way all the time. You know, like I said, it burns up and it burns out, but not every fire is the same because certain things happen to it. It either gets air from a window or it vents itself and it burns faster and quicker. So is it safe to go outside? What do? Do you remember staying low and going, staying low underneath the smoke? Because that's staying low and going when you're underneath the smoke. But there are, like I said, no typical fires. When the smoke is like that, is that smoke safe to crawl under? No, because it goes from floor to ceiling. So we used to tell everybody, we told the kids, you know, what do you do when you hear the smoke detector going off and your door is closed? Now I'm going to ask questions because moms, dads, how many of your kids sleep with the doors open or closed? So is it open or closed? Okay. How about you guys? Do you sleep with the bedroom doors open or closed? Closed? How about you back there? Open or closed? Open. The reason why parents, we do the open one is because we want to hear our children. If they stir at night or they fall out of bed, we think that we're doing a good thing by doing this. We're doing a dangerous thing. Choose to do what you think to do. But you can do that with the doors closed. If you need to keep track of your kids, baby monitors are pretty inexpensive right now. The reason why I say that is because the doors compartmentize your house. When your doors are compartmentizing your house, that prevents smoke from traveling from other sections of your house into your children's bedrooms. It gives them a chance so that when the smoke detectors go off, you wake up, you get low, you go and you peek out your door to see if it's safe. By touching your door and feeling it, thinking it's going to be hot, if there's a fire on the other side, that's not true. Your doors don't get hot. They displace enough heat. Literally, but the temperature of the door would be literally as if we were to hold hands. Okay, is that hot? No. Sometimes maybe, but no. So basically, what you have to do is you have to crack that door open a little bit. Okay, so if you hear the smoke detector going off and your door is closed, you go to your door and you what? You open it up and you peek outside. If it's like that, do you want to go out there? No, right? Do you want to go out in that? You don't see maybe any fire. But, oh, wait. Up there towards the ceiling, you see that? Little flashes of flame. It's letting you know that the particles in the ceiling are starting to ignite off. You don't want to be in that. That's a bad place to be. Close the door. Everybody have a window in their bedroom? Yes. Okay. We don't want to go past this. If this is our way out over here and we have fire going like this, that's not a safe place to go. Close the door. Okay? Stay in the room. Go to the window. Open it up. Wave a blanket outside. Get somebody's attention. Yell. Remember, they're all going to get outside. They're going to go to their meeting place that we talked about. They're going to realize that, uh-oh, we're missing somebody. We need to go back to where their bedroom is and look and see if we can find them there, if they're there. Making sure that somebody's calling 911. We're activating that. Because a lot of times, this is kind of what firefighters see. Now, this is just a smoky, this could be a food on the stove fire. Now, you think food on the stove can't do this. Oh, yeah, it does this. Food on the stove will do this really well. Wait until I show you some food on the stove fires that I've brought. So firefighters typically, work in these difficult conditions. Look, you can barely see them. This is a light, white, hazy smoke. There are a lot of times where in a fire situation, it is literally that black smoke where you can't see your hand in front of your face. And it's a good thing that firefighters have air packs because we do training, how to do searches on that. So if you see that this is a difficult situation, staying low and getting out is important, but only when it's safe. Actually, this is kind of a hard slide. There's actually a firefighter. This is actually showing a picture of a firefighter working. And there's his beam of light. He's in a building. So we want you. That's why that flashlight in the room that I talked about is kind of important. At least if you're down on the ground and you've got a flashlight, you might be able to see a little bit. It may help you. Here's some more firefighters working in fire conditions. If it doesn't look safe, don't go. And that's why that room is important. That's the reason why, if you have kids and you're concerned about them, get a monitor to have in their room, but compartmentize your house out so that smoke can't travel from one end to the other end of your house. Because everybody needs a plan B, even the firemen. For those that talking about plans, even the firemen have plans as far as what to do in case they get trapped inside of a building. So everybody has a plan. Teach your children how to be able to open up the windows. If they don't know how to open the windows in their bedroom, or they're stuck or they're not working, fix them, because it is their second way of getting out. Because she may not be able, or he may not be able to get out through their door to the first floor. If the first floor is blocked, that second way of getting out is important to them. Have that meeting place. Remember, we talked about having a meeting place. A meeting place is somewhere where everybody's going to meet at, that everybody knows where to go. All right. Now, I have people ask me, what about the pets in the family? We can go back in for the pets because the pets are part of the family. Don't go back in the house for your pets. See these guys up here? Those are firemen. They've all been told where the pets are. There's even a lizard there. They go back in for the pets. They'll go back and they'll rescue them. They'll even do mouth-to-mouth on a snake. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I think if that snake wakes up, he's going to bite somebody. Okay, your stovetop is not a storage place for combustibles. Okay, I'm guilty in my house. That happens because my house, I've got a flat top stove. And guess what gets put on my stove? Combustibles. I hate it. My wife gets mad at me for yelling at her for this. But a lot of us do this because it's another place to pile things up. Guess what? We end up burning stuff. This is a British video, so when they say 999, that's for in England. So just remember, what's the emergency number here? 911.
Get out. Stay out. Call 999.
1 out of 3 families will have a food on the stove fire. Raise your hand. How many have had food on their stove fires? I've had it. Yep. I bet you did too. Somebody's burned something on the stove. Oh, you're all liars here. I'm calling you out on it right now. I've had more than one. Okay? I didn't have a full blown out fire, but I've had stuff on top of the stove burn. Okay? So what do you do with it? You know, the thing of it is how many of you talk to your kids about it? Because I know that they're cooking on the stoves already. At grades 4th and under, they're cooking meals because they're helping out at home. So if they're cooking at home, what do they know what to do in case of a fire? Yeah. Yeah, if it's the right stuff, but do you know where it's at? Is it buried in the cabinet? What are you going to use on it? You get a fire like that, and it gets out of control. What are we going to grab to put on it? Because we cook it with a lot of oils, and it doesn't have to necessarily be oils that get going on a fire either. So what are we going to use on it? I heard it back there. A lid. Actually, a lid is like the easiest thing that you can do. And it doesn't have to even be a lid. It can be a pizza pan, a cookie sheet, and slide it right on top of it and turn off the stove. Let it cool. We don't want to once we put the cookie sheet or the pizza pan or a lid on it, we don't want to open it up right away because it's too hot. It can flash and catch on fire again. But 1 out of 3 families, everybody's going to have it. You're going to have it when you know, growing up. You guys are going to have it. You're going to burn something on the stove. It's going to happen. This food on the stove fire should never have happened. Okay? It should have never happened. And the reason why I put this one up here, this is a cooking fire that a little girl lost her life at. And the reason why I bring this up here is because as adults, how old are you? 14, 15, 16. In a couple of years, he's going to be driving. He's getting ready to go off to school. Going to be in college, I'm sure. Going to be hanging out with his friends. Yeah, we're having a good time. Stay up late. Come home. Man, I'm hungry. Let's make something. What do you want to make? I don't know. French fries would be good. Maybe fried chicken. And we cook. And we're tired. Oh, man, it's going to take a while for the grease to get hot because it's got to get hot enough so we can make fries, you know. We lay down and watch TV, and next thing you know, we fall asleep. All right? That's what happens. And as adults and young adults, we're guilty of this stuff. We're guilty of doing that stuff. Some of us have been luckier than others. Okay? But the thing of it is when you don't need to do this stuff, when you go out, go out with your friends, you want to think about things that you can pick up quick to eat on the way home so you're not falling asleep. And then the other thing, too, is when you're at home and you're cooking around the house, it's easy to get busy. We all get busy. You know, the football game's on. Let's see, we just had the Super Bowl, and the Bears are, somebody's playing, the Bulls, the Hawks, whatever it is, and we get pulled out of the kitchen. But if you have one of these things, anybody have one of these at home? You have one? Yeah, well, it's buried somewhere too, right? It's on the stove. Do you use it? But do you use it for what besides cooking? Here's the thing about it is I gave these some to firemen to hand out, and they looked at it first of all, and they said, it doesn't work. And I said, what? Because they didn't know how to use a timer. Teach your kids how to use a timer. Because a lot of them are latchkey kids. They get home from school early, and if they're cooking something or a snack, have them set a timer to remind them how long it needs to be. And if they go playing the game and they get zoned out, because I can stand there talking to my son who's about your age, and I'll say, Tony, Tony, Tony. Ah, reminder. There's something on the stove. I need to go keep an eye on it. Keep this with you, when you're cooking. Now, I got enough of these here that I think I've got some, before everybody leaves, I've got stuff to hand out. So make sure if you want one of these, I give you one, okay? Because I've got enough. All right, these are some of the other problems that we have at home. We've got so many electrical things that we just pile them in there. We're going to get them all plugged in. And unfortunately, some of our older homes aren't designed to handle the electric load like this, and we ended up getting electrical fires. So we have to be careful with that. We want to make sure that if we're going to use a lot of electrical devices, that we use surge protectors. How many have surge protectors in their home? Okay? So we go, and if you're like my family, we go try to buy the most inexpensive one because these things can be really expensive, right? But here's the good news is they do work when you need them to work. The bad news is just because they have a little button on it that says off and reset doesn't mean it's good after it's been kicked out. Once it kicks out because of a surge problem or electrical issue, these are no longer good, the cheap ones. The better ones that have built-in breaker system in it that are warrantied, you'll be able to reset them, because I've actually had house fires with these where some of the cheaper ones have caught on fire. So you want to remember that. Use a surge protector only once if it goes off. Get rid of it, put a new one in your house. All right, here's another one of our problem children around here. How many have space heaters? All right, here's some rules for space heaters. Space heaters need space, plain and simple. If they're too close to things like furniture, which this one was sitting on a couch, they will catch on fire. If it's sitting close to a bed like this here, they will catch on fire. The problem of it is we want to stay warm, so we put them closer to our beds, our furniture. They catch on fire. They will catch on fire. They have to have at least 32 inches of clearance from any combustible. Now this gets a little difficult because our houses are all cramped, just like mine. We can't put them on extension cords either. They're required to be plugged in directly. Once you put them on extension cords, they start to fail. Literally, I was in one of the stores in Kankakee, and we were walking through, and my firemen guys were doing a tour, and they were right in front of me. So I'm kind of behind them, and they're visiting with this young girl who's an artist, and she was painting away. She's a real pretty girl, and she was painting away, and she had a space heater there. And it was a really nice space heater. It looked like a Ben Franklin stove. And so she's painting away, and there's 15 guys there. And they're all standing around. They're watching her paint, and they're talking to her. And they walked off. So I kind of walked up and said, hey, what's going on? And the first thing I looked down, I said, oh, you got a space heater. That's pretty nice. And then she had it on, let me see, where's it at? Oh, here it is. A little brown extension cord here. Okay? Can anybody see what happened to this brown cord? Here. It started melting, and it was still plugged in, and it actually started melting. And it was going to get to a certain point where actually it would have melted and it would have started on fire. Okay? Space heaters, you can't plug into these things. They draw too much heat and energy through the cord, and the cord heats up, and it starts melting. Okay? So that's why we want to try to keep you to stay away from things like that. All right. Here we go. We get to play What Started This Fire? For those that don't know, this is the same as that picture there, but they're two water heaters in a basement. Anybody got an idea? What might have started that fire? Furnace? No. But it's a good guess. Stuff too close. Ooh, we're getting closer. How about pilot light? No, that works fine. It worked fine. Stuff too close to it. And here it comes. The lawnmower. The gentleman was actually out cutting his grass, and he brought the lawnmower downstairs into the basement, and he took the gasoline and he filled up the lawnmower. But here's the thing. Some places people don't have garages, okay? So they think that in a safe place is to store my lawnmower, and the safest place I have is the basement. Well, if it's out of fuel, that's okay. If there's no fuel in that lawnmower whatsoever, it's safe to be down there. But the gas can and the lawnmower full of gas is bad, because the lawnmower was hot. It was vaporing off the gasoline because he spilled some. Because, guys, when we're pouring gas in, it's not all going into the gas can, into the can of the lawnmower. It's going to be on the lawnmower. So don't store these things in your basement. This is just waiting for a fire. You know, it's not when it's. This one here's another one. This is mostly for us adults because we have older family members. Any ideas what we might have here? A smoker. Yeah. But what kind of smoker? Ooh, one that's on home oxygen. Yeah. Very, very dangerous situation. I tell you this because we become caregivers for a lot of people. And people that smoke and that are on oxygen, it's a dangerous combination. They can't help themselves. They think that they're going to beat this one, and this is one that usually gets them too. Never leave your candles lit unattended. I know that a lot of families, a lot of cultures have certain things that we do with candles, but not at night. Make sure that they go out before you go to bed, and make sure that they're out when we leave. All right. Dryer fires. They happen too. Make sure that you clean out the lint traps in your dryers. You know, they have that lint trap. The other thing too is then the exhaust portion of your dryers that go to the outside. If you want to make sure that they run efficiently, make sure that you vacuum that hose out inside the hose. Disconnect it from your dryer and vacuum that out. That lint on the back of the dryers, if it's not going outside or whatever, is extremely flammable. Matter of fact, I get the Boy Scout troops to collect that stuff for fire starting because it burns so fast. So it's a really good thing to use for that. All right, service your furnace. Especially now, if your furnace is running a little bit rough, the best thing that you could possibly even do to make it work efficiently is to make sure that your furnace is clean. And the biggest thing about any furnace is the air filter. And a lot of times when we go to a house where they get an odor of smoke or something in the house, even if you're a renter, make sure you check your air filters because that's one of the biggest places where we get fires on the furnaces. All right. This is a wood-burning stove, and of course what they did here is they stacked the wood too much. They put more fuel in the wood stove than what we really should have done. Never, okay, as a reminder, never store gasoline in your home for any reason whatsoever. All right. This is a problem, okay? And this is somebody's office, okay? But it happens in the home too. And this becomes dangerous. And actually, we've ran across several of these types of situations in Kankakee. Matter of fact, I went into one where I actually had to get a 4-foot ladder to step up on top of the debris. And the building was a commercial building, and it was literally that much stuff, even more, through the whole distance of the building. It's very scary because it's a health issue. Because we put on what they call the Tyvek suits, the white suits, and I taped up my collar, my cuffs, and my pant legs because there were critters running, and we actually saw them running in front of us. People that get into that situation, they can't help themselves. It is a medical issue. There are programs actually in Kankakee now where we can get them help. So when we do come across them and they have problems, we get them help. So I'm kind of letting you know this because if you come across family members that are having that, I've got to save this. I had one household there that literally, she was a neat hoarder. You kind of said neat hoarder. Everything was it was all brand new. But it was literally stacked from floor to almost 6 foot tall. And we had little trails, we call them habit trails, that you kind of go through. And it was all brand new stuff. It was top end stuff, Carson's and, Kohl's and everything. And it was still in the bags. But it's an issue, So that's something that the fire department can be called for and say, hey, do you know where we can get help from that? And we can refer that help. Catholic Charities actually has a program now that they do and help the elderly and help hoarders and individuals that need that kind of help. This is a lot of you, I forgot to ask in the beginning, but has anybody had ever had a house fire in their property? Okay. So this is kind of tough for you because it's a house fire is not an easy thing to go through because we don't all go through it. We don't know what it's like. So what I did is I included a little thing here. This is a part of my jobs and responsibility at Kankakee Fire Department is I do fire and cause and origin investigations. And this is a series of investigation pictures of a house fire that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But I wanted to show you because you need to see some of the damage that occurs in a house fire so that you've got an idea. And I can tell you some of the things that happen. So what we do is when we typically go there, we do what we call a 360 around the house. I'm taking pictures of all the sides because I want to look at everything. I look at all the utilities of the house. I look at the entryways. I also look at the exits. And as we were talking about knowing a way out, I want you to notice that this is an exit way, but it's also full of stuff like tires and boxes and stuff that can get in your way, especially if you're trying to get out in case of a fire. And you need to be able to get out quickly. You don't want that stuff in your path getting out. This is inside. This isn't even the room that the fire was involved in. And you can see that we talked about the heavy black smoke. Look at the staining on the walls. You can tell that actually from here up, it was heavy smoke, and it melted everything. The ceiling fans and stuff started to discolor, and the one in the back here you can't see very well, but the blade started bending down from the heat, the amount of heat that was there. The bedrooms had shades on them, and the shades melted from the heat. Just think of the heat that was in there. And this room isn't a room that's even involved in it. And the smoke staining that was there. And it's on everything. And the windows here. When you block your windows, and this is something that you need to consider. If a window in your room is considered a secondary exit, don't pile furniture in front of it, like dressers and things, because remember, that's your secondary exit. That window has to be there and have to be able to use it. But once you start piling things in front of it, it doesn't become an exit anymore. You've blocked that. And in an emergency, when time is of an essence, it becomes a problem for us to get out. All right. This is part of the kitchen area. And as you can see, the smoke staining was all through here too. And it goes down quite a bit. Everything on the walls is damaged and discolored. You can see where the smoke was at. The smoke alarm that was on there. That's why I see where it's at, 4 to 6 inches from the ceiling. That's why it's important, because if it was lower, you would have all this area here built up with smoke before it would ever activate it. So that's why it's when we tell you 4 to 6 inches from the ceiling or on the ceiling, that's why we have you put them there. All right. And this is one of the other bedrooms. This is another picture of the kitchen, closet area. And the smoke gets everywhere. Smoke gets everywhere, literally. This is our area of origin, okay? And actually, this is 2 boys had a bedroom in here. And as you can see, it's severely damaged. That's part of the ceiling. The firefighters removed part of the ceiling to make sure that the fire didn't travel into the ceiling space there. The beds. Okay. Idea as far as fire start. Anybody have maybe an idea of what might cause that fire? All right. Matches. How about you back there? What do you think? A game system. Well, it was. Sometimes I think they might, but it wasn't a game system. This one was actually a lighter. What he did is he went into the closet because he stole the lighter from a parent, and he went into the closet and he wanted to play with the lighter. And as he was in the closet with the lighter, he caught the clothes on fire. Okay? An accident. What I recommend for families, especially with young children that are curious, teach them how to use fire, because fire is a tool. If you teach them how to use it, then you take the mystery out of fire. If you have children that have fire setting issues that go and set fires, then we want to know, because fire setting is going to cause a problem for them. I had a young boy this summer that actually started a fire in a store, Probably everybody knows about it. But the fact of the matter is he was setting fires, okay? And the fact is he set a fire that people could have lost their lives in. And so we don't want to have to deal with children in the court system. We would rather do that teaching and education beforehand, before it ever occurs to where we get to that point, because that's not a good place to be. Yes, ma'am. Yes, the fire prevention office asked to talk to the fire prevention officer. It'd probably be myself, and then we would talk about it. The thing of it is the fire department can only do so much. I can assess what the risk is to a family, but I can't give counseling, you know. And sometimes we have cases where we have children that really need counseling, need help. And believe me, I will fight for your family. I've had 2 families this past summer that I have fought really hard for to get the kids what is needed. Sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes the systems do not give us that opportunity to do everything we need, but we'll make a good run at it, that's for sure. All right. Anybody live in a trailer? All right. Trailers are dangerous. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right up front. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Make sure that you have working smoke detectors on both ends. Make sure that, like in the front and in the back, because they burn fast. The reason why I say this is we've had several of them, and some of them have been really bad fires. Make sure that your trailers have to have 2 ways of exiting, and usually it's not a window. It's 2 doors. You usually have a door in the front and a door in the back. Make sure that they both operate and that you can get out. If you rent and they don't work, call me. I will advocate for you, okay? But you've got to have that working for you, because fires and trailers, they just burn a whole lot faster. And you're aware of that. Okay, right. Because of the materials that they're used in manufacturing of trailers, that's why they make them so flammable. And then the fact that it's like a can, okay? And so once you get air into it, it just feeds the fire a whole lot faster. That's one of the things, too, that I kind of wanted to touch on, is be very careful about if you come along another fire and the fire department's not there and you want to help. When you start opening up a lot of windows and a lot of doors really fast before the fire department gets there, it feeds air into the fire. And it basically gives it all the air, because what fire is doing is when it's in the house and it's burning, and we showed the picture earlier on how the fire was burning up and out, what's happening down is it's drawing in the cooler air and all the air in at the lower levels, and it's pushing it into the fire, okay? So it's pulling it in from the sides, and it gets to a point where it kind of uses the air up in that space. But once we add more air into it, now everything is heated up, because we have all that smoke and stuff that's towards the ceiling that's heated up a lot. And once we add a lot of air into it, we get this rush of air, and everything that's real close to igniting will actually flash or burn all off at once. They call it a flashover, where everything ignites at once, or potentially what they call a backdraft, when an influx of air gets into it. So we have to be very careful about when we do things like that. And if the fire department's not there, we can add a lot of air to a dangerous situation, okay? So I wanted to kind of make you aware of that. Firefighters have a very difficult job. My job tonight is to get you as families talking about what to do in an emergency. Do we have a plan? How we can do what we need to do to get out and get out safely? If you have questions, please ask them. You know, there's no silly questions. There absolutely is not, because this is definitely a matter of survival, how best to survive. Talk to your kids, talk to your families, and talk to your relatives and say, hey, I was at this neat little program the fire department did. Do you guys have a plan at home in case of an emergency? Or the fact that maybe your kids go spend the night over at a grandparent's house or a friend's house. What's your plan? It's not something that you should be embarrassed to ask. What happens if there was an emergency? All right. Anybody questions for me? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Well, here's the thing. fire ladders are okay, but I actually had a boy that had one, and I said, have you ever practiced on it? And he's like, no. If you have a fire ladder, it's something that you can hang. I wouldn't recommend crawling outside. I'd recommend going to the outside and climbing up to see how it feels first. Because if you have, here's what I'm going to tell you about second stories, okay, is not everybody's going to have a ladder, and ladders are expensive. But if that's your way to get out, okay, here's the decisions you have to make. And remember, it's a matter of your life. It's either surviving a fire or getting hurt. So which would we want to do? I'm going to get hurt, I want to survive from a fire. So what do we do? So we have to explain, if you're going to go out a window, what do? You're going to open up a window. You're going to go out feet first. You're going to hang over the windowsill, the bottom of the window. You're going to hang from the inside. You're going to lower yourself as far as you can, and then you're going to drop. Okay? That is the easiest way to do it. Are you going to get hurt? Probably. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because I was talking to somebody else, and they said, oh, we can't talk about that. Well, yeah, we have to talk about that because it's a matter of you surviving. I'm not going to tell you to stay in a house that's completely on fire. You're not going to survive that. Are you going to survive crawling out a window and dropping and dropping like I did? You're probably going to land on your bottom. You might break an ankle or fracture a bone, but are you going to survive? Yes, you will survive that. Third floors and above, that becomes a different scenario. In buildings like that, there are required special fire protection systems. Those systems are in place to protect you. If they're not, then you have to have a good plan for that, because there's no dropping down from third floor windows. Okay? I also recommend everybody goes on vacation or goes visiting. Think about the other ways that you get out, I go to a hotel, I go up the elevator, but then I walk down the stairs because I want to know where the stairs are at. I want to know if they're storing stuff in the stairwells. It's amazing to find out how many hotels will store things in their stairwells. And then they usually get nasty letters from me in the mail. I appreciate everybody for coming. All right, so here's what. I know people are wanting to get on the road. If anybody has any questions, I'm here as long as they need to be. For the kids, I'm not going to make them